Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. I would like to focus in on the feeling of losing yourself in relationships with a narcissist or a psychopathic abuser. One thing I find consistently with relationships of those with narcissistic or psychopathic type of individuals is there tends to be a point in time, essentially a pivoting moment over time, where one tends to allow their boundaries to be violated, and unbeknownst to them, through denial, through repression, basically covering it up, not acknowledging it, shrugging it off, people tend to permit this person in violating them, even though they knew that there was something wrong, something was not right, and they feel, as in essence, like they're being taken over. And I really feel through my studies here that the abusers who are attracted into one's life, narcissistic, psychopathic, are meant to help you as an individual deal with certain unresolved issues that you need to learn in life in order to advance yourself to the next level, to bring your personality, your personhood, your identity to the next level, to grow to the next level in a psychologically, spiritually, and really personally strong manner. So when I hear somebody say, I knew something was not right about this, but I continued anyway, or I knew something was a little bit off, but I just ignored it. I knew something wasn't right, but I just kept on. So this sort of, just glimmer of awareness, and then, feeling like I'm just going to continue on, I'm going to ignore it. Maybe, this abusive sort of behavior or treatment or attitude towards me will go away. And, eventually, just sort of tolerating it or permitting the abuse to occur. This very much is signaling an opportunity within that person to receive this abuse so that they can furthermore process and really work through a previous hurt, a previous injury, which needs attending to. So it's almost like the relationship with a narcissist or psychopathic abuser really is like a wake-up call. When I work with clients and I say, there's something to be learned here, there's a lesson to be learned, this is more than just fantastic sex, this is more than just a passionate relationship, it's because this person was attracted into your life for a reason. There's no accidents. This person is meant to teach you some lessons. So your goal here is to look at the lessons learned. And so that's why I definitely incorporate this also into the recovery journal, is to, when you realize these and you have these epiphanies, you have these eye-opening moments, aha, I see what was going on, I see what happened here, write it down. Have your own list of lessons learned, because what we don't in life, what we don't learn or what we don't, incorporate, we tend to repeat. So if there's lessons learned in these relationships and we don't learn from them, we tend to, repeat them again and again, these mistakes again and again. And it gets to the point where, people will have, 2, 3, 4, 5, even more of these abusive relationships. People who have taken advantage of them, people who have had parasitic nature type of relationships, where very unfulfilling, very, a lot of crazy making, a lot of chaos. And people say, enough is enough. I've hit my rock bottom here. This is getting horrible. I need to change up. I need to reset. I need to reboot my life. So when you have these moments of awareness, look at it, take a moment to really look at what was going on and realize why perhaps you were not comfortable standing up for yourself in those moments. And see if there's a connection in your past or in previous relationships, albeit with your family of origin, where you had to sweep situations under the rug. You had to repress your awareness. You had to repress your expression. You couldn't call it out. You couldn't speak up. You couldn't acknowledge it. You couldn't, work it through at that time. You had to constantly, swallow the crow, as they say. You constantly had to, swallow swallow some shame. You had to swallow your truth. You had to ignore it. And so realize that a lot of this, if this is still repeating in your life, is very much still a part of your life. So you have to work through it and release it and let it go, so you don't perpetuate that cycle. You don't perpetuate that experience. You don't continue to live in that lower rung, that lower energy. You learn to process it, work through it, identify it, and then, shut it off. Really like a cocoon or like an outer layer that was keeping you in a self-limiting belief, a sort of smaller personality, if you will, more restrictive, more confining type of personality or experience in life where you really feel you're not free. Because in essence, this does create a relationship trap if you don't work through it. So, looking here once again at raising your awareness in relationships, and when you had that first feeling that something wasn't right, you were being violated, you were being mistreated, you were treated with a caustic sarcasm, a jab, an insult, a slap in the face, a slap in the gut. You were just being, there was some condescension going on. In other words, the narcissist or psychopath is keeping themselves up here, and all their supply they're keeping underneath. And, unbeknownst to you, you were fueling this cycle for them. And sometimes in the name of love, sometimes, this was because you thought that putting others first, being supportive, being loving, going with the flow, letting them take charge, this was all in the name of love. But realize that this oftentimes was in the name of self-sabotage, self-denial, self-injury, and perpetuating old habits of shame-based identity that was instilled in you by a previous family member that wouldn't allow you, didn't give you your healthy narcissistic mirroring, which is giving you the respect, attention, helping you navigate in your environment or navigate other relationships early in your life, so that you learned how to address them healthfully and address them with your self-esteem intact, and then give you that sort of industrial feeling, which is self-esteem directing you in your life versus low self-esteem. So realize when low self-esteem is directing you in your life, in your relationships, and then the results that tend to proliferate from there. The sort of aftermath, the sort of relationships that you tend to draw when you're being driven by this low self-esteem or this old mindset that could be working in your subconscious mind, unbeknownst to you, and realize that the subconscious mind is really working through 95% of our physiological and psychological functions in our life. And so your goal really in healing is to become more aware of these subconscious drives, which are tied to self-limiting beliefs about yourself that were instilled from a previous narcissistic abuser, sociopathic abuser, psychopathic abuser, borderline abuser, alcoholic parent, someone who had perhaps abandoned you or who had passed early in your life. So it created this reservoir of abandonment issues, low self-esteem, and sort of festering within you, which you had to conceal, which you didn't have maybe the tools as a young person to deal with, but now are still kind of part of the pot. They're still part of the recipe, still causing that sort of flavor and angst and approach in your life, and really sort of creating a coloring of what you're experiencing or what you're attracting in your life. And if this is, keeping you down, keeping you depressed, causing trouble, dysfunction, all this crazy making chaos, and really sort of setting you up for a lot of brainwashing, gaslighting experiences, realize the foundation and the cause of this, and then release that and let it go. So that this old story you've looked at and you've realized that this was instilled in you at the hands of an abuser outside of you, which created a sort of false sense of yourself, that you were shame-based, less than, inferior. You were meant to feel this way at the hands of an abuser who, in order to serve their needs, was to keep you down, which was to berate you, abuse you through physicality, physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse. That this sort of treatment created an old blueprint, if you will. It created an old structure. It created an old self-limiting belief about yourself. So once you're able to identify that that was instilled by an abuser and it has nothing to do with reality, you can realize, wow, I did have so much to give and so much love, and I do have a genuine personhood, and I do have genuine talent, and I do have genuine gifts with which I wish to share people with people in a more pure, authentic, and genuine manner, which is not based in shame, which is not based in me feeling less than, which is actually based in me feeling strong, secure, connected to my passion, connected to a higher source, connected to really my own sense of value. And my values oftentimes are different than those of the abuser, because the values of the abuser oftentimes are directly opposing to perhaps values that you have, and you weren't allowed to be in touch and live your own values, what you resonate with in life, or what you care about in life. You weren't permitted to have these experiences or live from this true connection. So realize that this sort of constriction was imposed on you from an abuser, and someone who, to satisfy their supply needs, had perpetuated this cycle. So realize that this person is outside of you, that they're no longer to be given power over you, that their own needs, their own problems are not your problems, and their issues are not your issues. Their, abusive tendencies are not your abusive tendencies. You wish to release them and let them go in love, and, not to feel sorry for them, not to pity them, but to realize that's where they were in their life as one person, as one individual. And, albeit outside of you, this was their choice, this was their functioning, and you love them for the way that they are, but that is not you. And that's not, how you feel about yourself or the person that you truly are. So when you feel like they never really got a chance to know you, they really ever had a chance to enjoy you or a relationship and what you were giving, that they were kind of blind to it, that very much is the case, because their abuse blinded them to really so much of the joy and the richness and emotional richness in life. So really, that's where you need to pick up, is enjoying that sort of emotional, coming from that state of humbleness, humility, and realizing that you have a sense of personal trust, personal power in your life, and that's where you're coming from. And you then develop this sort of boundary which you can enforce, in realizing that you don't tolerate that sort of abuse, nor do you expect that, nor do you attract it, because you've grown and you're now able to identify it. So you're, in essence, having a raising up of your standards, raising up of your consciousness, and no longer seeking to feed into and perpetuate relationships which require this sort of abusive cycle. And once you break free and really start to plug into something more profound, and really, I would say, more of a prosperity consciousness, more of a feeling of abundance and love and productivity in your life versus lack and loss, which is sort of a mindset that's created from an abuser, you let that go. Let go of that perspective of of loss and, coming from that sort of lack mentality, that sort of poverty consciousness that was there instilled in you, and release that and let that go. And begin to feel the experience of abundance, the higher vibrations, happiness, love, bliss, inspiration, feeling of the awe, the mysterious, the magnificent, delighting in, the joys and miracles that surround you in nature. And once you begin to allow yourself permission to experience really a more divine connection with life from your higher self, and really separate from the abuser, you'll begin to see life in a whole new way, and the awesome will begin to be attracted to you in life versus the poverty consciousness, the abusers, the people who will continue to violate, perpetrate, and keep you down, which is not your true destiny. Peace and harmony with you here today. Hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.